From the latest news to your favorite tunes, we've got your back morning, night, and afternoon. Join our family, connect with your crew. Kings FM 88.5, just for you.
From the nation's capital here in Monrovia, a pleasant good afternoon and welcome to the Monday, September 1, 2025 edition of King's Newsroom. 45 minutes of news about Liberia and the rest of our one word. I'm Stephen Compton Angary. And in the headlines, Monserrato County District 8 former lawmaker and stalwart of the CDC requests political conversation with Senators Samuel Koga, Edwin Snow, Amara Collin, and others. Moses Akaro Gray says it will help the CDC wins the 2029 presidential elections. Liberia Council of Churches former president brands officials of government as lazy and unable to think outside the box. Bishop Cortu Brown claims limited opportunities for citizens with government officials erasing themselves. And also coming up in the news, family and friends of deceased Liberia's former Minister of State for Presidential Affairs, Sylvester Grisby, paid final respect during funeral in the U.S., described him as a profound intellect, sharp political mind, and tireless public servant. And away from Liberia, a woman has been burned to death by a mob in northern Nigeria state after she was accused of blaspheming against Prophet Muhammad, police have said. And also elsewhere, the people of Malawi are said to vote for their next leader, following a turbulent 5 years involving economic turmoil, natural disaster, and the shock death of the nation's vice president. Details of these developments, the news bulletin, and the voices of the news makers are all packaged. We are taking a very short break. When we come back, we'll bring you the bulletin of news. Welcome back. Up next is the Bulletin of News with Sam Andrews.
Monserrato County District 8 former Representative Akaras Gray is requesting the Congress for Democratic Change leadership to initiate conversation with Senators Samuel Koga, Amara Collin, and Edwin Snow, as well as other political parties ahead of the 2029 general and presidential elections. According to Gray, political conversation with these individuals and other parties will enable the Congress for Democratic Change form a common front and defeat Unity Party in 2029. Monserrato County District Representative former lawmaker also expressed his fullest preparedness in ensuring victory for the Congress for Democratic Change 2029. According to former Representative Akaras Gray, he is willing to sacrifice his interest to have the Congress for Democratic Change win the 2029 presidential and legislative elections. Gray added that in order to free Liberians from the hands of Unity Party, the opposition community must put aside its difference, selfish motives, and forge ahead with one goal: to democratically defeat Unity Party. The tough-talking CDC stalwart also challenged partisans and supporters who left the Congress for Democratic Change due to policy and other issues to put them aside and return to the party as officials derive new plans for the elaboration of the country. The former president of the Liberia Council of Churches Reverend Kotu Brown has branded officials of the government as very lazy and unable to think outside the box in finding solutions to Liberia's deepening problems. Bishop Brown, who is the overseer of the Apostolic Pentecostal Church International, added that laziness has made officials unable to achieve their main objective and effective cardinal development and take Liberians out of poverty. According to him, government officials have found diverging from the main reasons why they were given state power and have embarked on tackling that will make them to continuously live on taxes paid by the people. Speaking on the theme, Be Strong, the LCC former president cautioned ordinary Liberians, including students, to prepare themselves for the challenge of life. He further described Liberia as a country with limited opportunities for citizens, adding that officials of government are only concerned about themselves. Bishop Kotu Brown made the assertion when he delivered a sermon at Mother Tijet's Stewart Apostolic Mission School in Brove outside Monrovia on Sunday. On Saturday, August 30th, the remains of Liberia's Minister of State for Presidential Affairs, Sylvester Grisby, was laid to rest in Houston, Texas, the United States. The funeral service was attended by the deceased family, friends, and representatives of the Liberian government. In his sermon at the funeral, Reverend Eric Solari honored the life and legacy of former Minister Grisby. Among several individuals who paid tributes were Alexander Benedict Cummings, political leader of the Alternative National Congress and longtime friend of Grisby. Cummings described the Grisby as a man of profound intellect, sharp political mind, and a tireless public servant. According to the ANC political leader, he was privileged to have known the deceased Minister of State, noting that his wisdom was unmatched. The late Sylvester Grisby succumbed on August 9th, 2025 in the United States following what many described as a protracted period of illness. Finance and Development Planning Minister Augustine Gaffron has announced that a team from the United States government's Millennium Challenge Corporation is expected to arrive in Liberia on September 22nd for an official mission. He disclosed that the mission is aimed at assessing Liberia's readiness to benefit from its second MCC compact. According to him, the visit comes ahead of the next regular board meeting of the MCC in December this year, where Liberia's continued eligibility for a second pact will be decided. Minister Gaffron noted that the MCC delegation will comprise economists and officials who will spend over a week in Liberia, adding their mission will consult widely with stakeholders across the government, the private sector, civil society, and the media. Minister Augustine Gaffron disclosed that the team goal is to conduct constraints analysis to identify key barriers to sustainable, inclusive economic growth and determine which sectors are best suited for the MCC Compact. At the same time, Minister Gaffron said the government is steadily addressing what he described as the nation's present bread and butter concerns. Minister Gaffron also noted that the government is at the same time working to ease constraints to long-term economic growth. Speaking in Monrovia during the weekend, the finance minister stressed that the economic management requires constant effort and cannot be on pause. According to him, two of the government's major priorities are tackling barriers to growth and creating jobs, noting that the government is determined to do through investment in infrastructure and energy. The National Youth Congress of the Alternative National Congress has made a passionate plea to the United States government for intervention in Liberia's alarming drug smuggling, abuse, and related drug death rate. ANC National Youth Congress believes a call on the United States government intervention will help curb the high rate of drug smuggling and usage in Liberia. The Secretary General of the ANC Youth League, Aliyu Kiadi, said Unity Party government has proven to be unable to combat the smuggling and prevent drug abuse across Liberia. The national chairman of the National Patriotic Party of Liberia has broken silence on the eviction of the Congress for Democratic Change headquarters by the court, backed by officers of the Liberia National Police. NPP Chairman George Molba argued that the incident must serve as a wake-up call to all political parties and motivation to begin purchasing and building their own headquarters. According to him, the court sought the assistance of the Liberia National Police because CDC had earlier threatened to resist the eviction. The head of Secretariat of the West African Alcohol Policy Alliance has ended a 2-week tour with a call for civil society organizations to set up the campaign aimed at curbing the consumption of alcohol in Liberia. WAPAC's head of Secretariat, Isa Ali, said alcohol consumption has the propensity of creating liver and lungs diseases and increased domestic violence. Speaking in an interview with reporters in Monrovia at the weekend, Ali stressed the need to introduce policy that will help stop the consumption of alcohol. According to him, a lot of homes have been broken, while children are abandoned in some cases, causing the increase of street children to alcohol use by some parents and guardians. And the National Integrity Forum has concluded a one-day interactive community engagement with citizens of Badnersville Estate, Montserrat County. NIF is a conglomeration of anti-graft institutions pursuing accountability, transparency, and enhanced efforts to fight corruption. According to a statement released by the group, about 50 participants, including youth, women, men, media practitioners, and persons with disabilities, were part of the engagement aimed at increasing their understanding of anti-corruption and integrity, as well as enhanced visibility of the NIF in local communities.
Sam Andrews there with the news bulletin is a regular featured on King's Newsroom. 45 minutes of news about Liberia and elsewhere. And in one of our top development we are furthering this afternoon, Montserrat County District 8 former lawmaker and steward of the CDC request political conversation with Senators Samuel Koga, Edwin Snow, Amara Conan, and others. Moses Akara Gray says it will help the CDC wins the 2029 presidential election. We are taking a very short break. When we come back, we bring you voices of the news makers. Welcome back. Let's now take our first development. Montserrat County District 8 former Representative Moses Akaras Gray is requesting CDC leadership to initiate conversation with Senators Samuel Koga, Amara Conan, Edwin Snow, and other political parties ahead of the 2029 general and presidential elections. According to Gray, political conversation with these individuals and other parties would enable the CDC form a common front and defeat the Unity Party in 2029. The Montserrat County District 8 former lawmaker also expressed his fullest preparedness in ensuring victory for the Congress for Democratic Change in 2029.
For the CDC to win the election in 2029, put me on record. I'm prepared to sacrifice my interests for CDC to win the election in 2029. We need to emancipate the country. And to do so, we must put aside not just our differences, but put aside anger. We must bring everybody on board. We must begin to talk, initiate conversation with Samuel Koga, whosoever, everybody, John Molu. Talk to Amara Cornell, Edwin Snow, Musa Belete. Y'all keep naming them. Talk to them. Even George Wallace and other people who disagree with the Unity Party. Some of our friends who support the Unity Party, but they are disgruntled today. Reach out to them, bring them. We can win this election in 2029 with absolute majority and state counting. There should be no runoff. The West Edition will vote. They come in 2029, I can assure you. It will be landslide. One way. We're not joking. People, if you say election today in Liberia, my people will rewrite the election history of 2023, will rewrite it in favor of the mighty Congress, the mighty coalition for democratic change. Yeah.
Former District 8 Representative Moses Akaras Gray there speaking. The former president of the Liberia Council of Churches, Reverend Cortud Brown, has branded officials of government as very lazy and unable to think outside the box in finding solutions to Liberia's deepening problems. Bishop Cortud Brown, who is the overseer of the Apostolic Pentecostal Church International, added that laziness has made officials unable to achieve their main objective and faith, career development, and take Liberians out of poverty. According to him, government officials are formed that dividing from the main reason they were given state power and have embarked on cycle that will make them to continuously live on taxes paid by the ordinary people.
This is a country with limited opportunities. If you don't know somebody, you may not go anywhere. You're moving to a community where opportunities are limited. Lazy men are in front of you. No strong and brave people. No people want to take leadership. You see the hard time playing in Liberia. And part of the reason why the hard time playing in Liberia because we are the government got our share. The parents got their share. Especially Liberian fathers. We can go around volunteer all over and neglect them. You got these despicable Liberian fathers. How can you born a child and not pay 1 cent for that child? And the day the child is graduating from high school, you are sitting there. Terrible man in the midst of foolish women. Because you saw that man fool your friend. You saw that man fool your neighbor. Someone told you that man had a child in Brown County and ran away from there. And you say, well, Lord, my shit, Lord. Why do you think almost all your government officials sitting in their town on Facebook trying to convince you? You went to the trust RUSD, a national trust, and you're spending your time on pleasure. When the government comes to power, their focus is not on how many scholarship they will give this 35,000 children that YS to the WAEC. First thing is on buying new cars. Lazy people like comfort. How do you become a government official and don't want to face any difficulties? Well, a comfortable car, air condition. Families are crumbling. When you elect a lawmaker, what does he do? Fight for himself rights. I said you make one post that people finish eating. If you make one post, they material in school. Lazy to think. See this country, when you graduate from high school, where you can go and apply for scholarship to go to school, to go to university. So why are we doing that to ourselves? Because we're lazy to think. Too many lazy men in Liberia. For some people, it's their parents making them lazy. Many years ago, you didn't belong to certain family structures. You stay in our house as a second place citizen in our house. There are many families, many parents who can't allow their own born children to work in the house. Only the people children who live with you. They are the ones who are supposed to wash dishes, sweep the house, cook the food. But you don't realize that that's training. And instead of putting it in your jar, you are putting it in another person's jar.
Bishop Kotu Brown there speaking. The remains of Liberia's Minister of State for Presidential Affairs, Sylvester Grisby, was laid to rest in Houston, Texas, the United States, on Saturday, August 30. The funeral service was attended by the deceased feminists, friends, and representatives of the Liberian government. In his sermon at the funeral service, Reverend Eric Solari honored the life and legacy of the late statesman.
His unwavering faith in times of war and peace made him a source of peace in a restless and a weary world. But I believe that above all the incredible titles and accolades and acclaim that he received, he would want us to know him as a follower of Christ and a beloved child of God. God, we want to thank you for this time in which we've been able to gather together, to recount, to live into the life of Mr. Sylvester Mondugu Grigsby. God, we want to be mindful of the great nation which he served, Liberia, and its leaders. God, may you guide them with the same integrity and vision and servant-heartedness that marked Sylvester's life. May his example continue to inspire those in public service, and may his legacy lead the country toward greater unity, justice, and peace. We pray for strength for his daughters, his wife, his grandchildren, his siblings, and all who mourn him. We pray that the Lord would hold you close, give you peace, and remind you of every truth Mr. Sylvester taught through his living. And we pray, Father God, we thank you for giving us the gift of Sylvester.
Also paying tribute at the funeral service was Alexander Benedict Cummings, political leader of the Eternity National Congress, a longtime friend of Grigsby. Cummings described Grigsby as a man of profound intellect, sharp political mind, and a tireless public servant.
I was privileged to know Sylvester, the man, the schoolmate, the friend, the deeply good human being, and yes, the supporter. He was a man of profound intellect, a sharp political mind, and a tireless public servant who moved with ease and integrity through the highest echelons of our government. His resume speaks for itself. A life dedicated to the monumental task of building a better Liberia. His willingness to serve in multiple administrations, including most recently in the administration of his lifelong friend, President Joseph N. Boakai Sr., was not a sign of political convenience. It was a testament to his unwavering patriotism. He was a man whose wisdom was matched only by his kindness, whose counsel I sought and cherished. He believed in people, and he invested his time and his heart in those he called friend.
And now up to this next development, Finance and Development Planning Minister Augustine Gaffon has announced that a team from the U.S. Government Millennium Challenge Corporation is expected to arrive in Liberia on September 22 for an official mission. It disclosed that the mission is aimed at assessing Liberia's readiness to benefit from its second MCC compact. According to him, the visit comes ahead of the next regular board meeting of the MCC in December 2025, where the country's continuing eligibility for a second compact will be decided.
Years ago, the minimum wage was put in the act, meant to bring decency to Liberian workers, both in public and private sectors. The central government is ensuring that the minimum wage is not less than 150. According to the Minimum Wage Act, the minimum Liberia's eligibility is still under consideration. We were in the U.S. and we visited the MCC. We had engagement with the team, the new management team, and they were impressed with progress we're making, and that they've been pushing, making the case. The U.S. Embassy here, the State Department, we've been engaged on multiple fronts. The MCC board met, I think, a few weeks ago, last week. And what came out of it is that a final decision on Liberia will be made at the next MCC regular board meeting in December. In advance of that, what the MCC has decided to do is that they're going to feed a team of economists and officials here. Just yesterday, we're in touch. On the 22nd of September, the MCC team will be in Liberia. Some will be here for a week, some will be here for 2 weeks or more. And that next week, we are going to have a conference call with them on the 10th of September. And that the hope is that that team that will come, we working with us, we identify the sectors that could possibly benefit from MCC support. The emphasis of the new government is win-win. They want to be able to find sectors that they can support that will also be enabling for American investment. So yesterday, I had the honor of hosting the charge d'affaires of the U.S. Embassy here, and we talk MCC. We are all preparing for the team. When they come, it's not only me that we interact with, but we interact with people across the spectrum, including in government, in private sector, maybe including journalists and you.
At the same time, Finance and Development Planning Minister Augustine Gafuan says the government is working to address what he described as the nation's pressing bread and butter concerns.
Years ago, the minimum wage was put in the act meant to bring decency to Liberian workers, both in public and private sectors. The central government is ensuring that the minimum wage is not less than 150. According to the Minimum Wage Act, the minimum wage of Liberia should be 150 United States dollars. That is the minimum wage. Now, I know that there may be challenges in even some private sector entities to enforce it or to live by it. The Ministry of Labor is well positioned to give you answers on that. They monitor that. But what I wanted to really talk about has to do with what we pronounced. We pronounced during the budget formulation process that the president had instructed, and the budget had accommodated a situation where no one working in central government will make less than the minimum wage of 150. That was the pronouncement we put out. And that in central government, no one will make less than 150 US dollars. When we came in, there were people, not a huge number, but there were still people making less than 150. And so I can pronounce to you again that we fulfilled that pledge, and that no one on the central government wage bill is making less than 150 United States dollars as a minimum wage.
Finance and Development Planning Minister Augustine Gafuan there speaking. Well, with almost half an hour past the news presentation, this is a reminder that you are listening to the Monday, September 1, 2025 edition of King's Newsroom. 45 minutes of news about Liberia and elsewhere. We are taking a very short break. When we come back, we'll bring you more developments. Welcome back. And now up to this development, the national chairman of the National Patriotic Party has broken silence on the evasion of the Congress for Democratic Change by the court, backed by officers of the Liberia National Police. NPP chairman Josh Mulbag argued that the incident must serve as a wake-up call to all political parties and motivation to begin purchasing and building their own headquarters. According to him, the court sought the assistance of the Liberia National Police because the CDC had earlier threatened to resist their evasion.
To continue to legitimize yourself or your existence, you must always try to have a permanent home. If you don't have a permanent, you may have means to always have a strong leasehold, a lease agreement that will keep you protected beyond whether you're in power or beyond the election commission period of checking those requirements to exist as a political party. They were protected, but it was legal. Under the law, when the court ruled and they asked you to move, and you put up an aggressive posture, the government, the court would then ask for the assistance from the greater security force, the police. If the police fail, they will bring in the army. First of all, when it comes to tenancy, you're supposed to have a rated. You can be a rated. You may have a rated tenant. Then you got tenants at will. I come to you. I say, look, I get your house. I say, look, come and rent here. You come and rent here. Every month pay me, and we don't have a rating contract between us. So the day I job over as a landlord, get there and say, look, you have to go. But the day you as a tenant garage, you want to go, you got to go. So if the question you must ask yourself, whether there was a rating agreement between, whether there was a leasehold between the citizens and Mr. Dempster. If this is what you're talking about, then the issue of tenancy will come into place. But if there was no agreement signed by the parties in this case, because the parties in the case, from what I read, is the Banana Estate represented by Dempster. I don't know him, but Dempster versus the CDC the CDC. Okay, and the ruling was handed down by the Supreme Court. When the court issued a ruling, and we also understand maybe the Dempster or whosoever, if the sheriff may are getting afraid because there was a build-up 2 days to maybe two days to the evasion. There was a build-up among the CDC. Because we will not move. We had our pack. We had to put a resist. So when you make that kind of build-up, definitely the government, let's say the court, will then seek the protection of the government to the Liberia National Police to use a greater force to get you off from there. Well, first, what you have to.
And PP National Chairman Josh Mulbag there speaking. The National Youth Congress of the Alternative National Congress has made a passionate plea to the United States government for its intervention in Liberia's alarming drug smuggling, abuse, and related death rate. ANC National Youth Congress says the U.S. government's intervention will help come the high rate of drug smuggling, dealing, and usage in Liberia. The Secretary General of the ANC Youth Congress, Aliyu Kiadi, said the Unity Party government has proven to be unable to combat the smuggling and prevent drug abuse across the country.
Now let us speak of the drug war, a war that exists only in Joseph Boakai speeches, but not in the national budgets. The government in the Ministry of Justice budget allocates $490,000 for rehabilitation, while the Ministry of State spends $592,556 on state celebration buying stout and beer. The Liberia Justice Enforcement Agency received $3.5 million, but 90% goes to salary, while the presidential convoy alone costs over $4 million United States dollars. This is not a war on drugs. This is a war on common sense. You cannot fight $1 million cartels with chicken change, Mr. President. You cannot rehabilitate a nation with empty rhetoric. The people are not fools. They see the waste. They feel the betrayal. The fight against drugs is not even a concern. This is not governance. It is negligence. This is not leadership. It is abandonment. We demand a real drug policy, one that invests in rehabilitation, one that funds intelligence, one that empowers communities, one that treats addiction not as a crime, but as a crisis. Let us build rehabilitation centers in every county commerce. Let us train counselors. Let us fund outreach. Let us save our youth, not with slogans, but with solutions. We therefore call upon the government of the United States of America, through its embassy near Monrovia, to urgently intervene in Liberia's deepening drug crisis, not with diplomatic platitudes, but with a robust and targeted mechanism of support. President Joseph Boakai leadership in this fight has proven not only ineffective, but futile and disastrous. The Liberia Drug Enforcement Agency under his administration has become a breeding ground for corruption, where public trust is squandered and operational integrity is non-existent. We ask the U.S. government to help establish an independent, transparent framework for rehabilitation, intelligence gathering, and enforcement, one that bypasses compromised institutions and empower community-led solutions. Liberia's youth are not statistics, they are citizens. They are not collateral damage, they are the future. Let the United States stand with the Liberian people in this fight, not with the officials who have failed them. Let this be a moment of solidarity, of rescue, and of renewal.
The head of Secretariat of the West African Alcohol Policy Alliance has ended a 2-week tour with a call for the civil society organization to set up the campaign aimed at curbing the consumption of alcohol in Liberia. WAPA's head of Secretariat, Acid Ali, said alcohol consumption has the propensity of creating labeled and launched diseases and increased domestic violence.
Our various countries are recording a high number of road accidents related to alcohol, and also the issue of liver diseases is there. The issue of domestic violence, household expenditures being spent on alcohol. All these have actually necessitated the need for our government to get up. So as civil society, as you know, our role is to partner and support our various governments to implement the provisions of the Global Alcohol Action Plan. So purely that is what we intended doing. So I would say the 2 weeks visit has been fruitful because we spent the first week to build the capacity of civil society organizations, where we introduce NGOs on global best practices, especially some of the good things that other countries have been doing, especially in the areas of banning, promotion, and advertisement. It's one area that we're able to take our civil society on. and also the aspect of the age, the age limitation, and those who can buy and also consume alcohol is one area that we've also dealt with our civil society. And also another aspect has to do with the comprehensive implementation of the Liberian National Alcohol Policy, where we've taken our colleagues in there. We also share experiences, especially on the age. We know there are countries that are doing 19, we know countries that are doing 21, and also other countries that are doing more. So we have realized that, yes, the higher the age, the better for our populations, because according to WHO, that's the World Health Organization, those young people between the ages of 15 to 19 should not even initiate the habit of drinking at all, because as at that time they are in school. So this is one area that we as civil society must educate and must advocate for policies and legislations in place. So we've done that, and also we are looking forward to some of the areas that our government will also take it up, so that at least we can have a legislation in place.
And now, on her way from home, a woman has been burned to death by a mob in northern Nigeria state after she was accused of blaspheming against Prophet Muhammad, police have said. Police condemned the killing of the woman identified in local media as a food vendor named Amir as Jonko Justice, saying that an investigation on the way to arrest and prosecute the perpetrators. Local media reported eyewitnesses are saying a man jokingly proposed marriage to the vendor, and her response was considered by some people in the area as bad. Unfortunately, it led to a mob attack. She was set ablaze before reinforcement of security team and arrived at the scene, police spokesperson have said. And that's why the people of Malawi are said to vote for the next leader following the turbulent 5 years involving the economic turmoil, natural disaster, and the shock of death of the nation's vice president. The country's current president is vying for a second term, his main rival being Peter Mutharika, who has also held office in these southeastern African nation once before. Transparency and fairness are key talking points ahead of the vote, given that the result of Malawi's 2019 presidential election was overturned in the court due to widespread irregularities. This is how we go on today's edition of the news program. Before we take leave of you, reminder of top stories we close the photo. Monserrato County District 8 former lawmaker and stalwart of the CDC requests political conversation with Senators Samuel Koga, Edwin Snow, Amara Conan, and others. Moses Akara Grade says it will help the CDC win the 2029 presidential election. Liberia Council of Churches former President Burns officials of government as lazy and unable to think outside the box. Bishop Corto Brown claims limited opportunities for citizens with government officials erasing themselves. Family and friends of deceased Liberia's Minister of State for Presidential Affairs, Sylvester Grisby, paid final respect during the funeral in the U.S., described him as a profound intellect, sharp political mind, and tireless public servant. And also, as you heard in the news, a woman has been burned to death by a mob in northern Nigeria after she was accused of blaspheming against Prophet Muhammad, police have said. The people of Malawi are said to vote for their next leader following a turbulent 5 years involving economic turmoil, natural disaster, and the shock death of the nation's vice president. On this note, we'd like to say many thanks to our reporters, editors, for making today's news presentation a success. Sam Andrews brought us the news bulletin. Jenin Persiman Sada control and ably coordinated the sound. I'm Stephen Compton. Thanks for listening and watching.